Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into a classic story breakdown today, but we are not just doing a basic read-through. You know us, we're going to totally deconstruct the pacing, the tension, and the contrast. So picture this, we're stepping right into a serene, but honestly highly unpredictable environment. Just kind of take a breath, lower your shoulders, and let the quiet, heavy atmosphere of a sleeping forest completely wash over you. We're going to look at the exact mechanics of how just a handful of simple sentences can build this massive sense of atmosphere and, well, impending drama. Let's get into it.
The story kicks off like this. In a dense forest, a huge, fierce lion was sleeping peacefully outside his cave. Seriously, let that sink in for a sec. We are instantly dropped into this hushed, totally dangerous atmosphere. It's quiet, sure, but it's a really heavy quiet, right? The text deliberately drops us right outside the beast's front door. We know it's a fierce creature, but it's totally fast asleep. And that creates this brilliant undercurrent of suspense literally from the first syllable. It's like we're mentally tiptoeing through the brush, completely aware that this peace and quiet we're seeing, it's incredibly fragile.
Okay, let's dive into this first part, King of the Forest, and really focus on the setting and this imposing king. So, the author clearly wants us to feel the sheer weight of the sleeping monarch, right? They need to establish a baseline of just immense power. And that brings us to his majestic form. Basically, this is the physical manifestation of royalty, power, and commanding presence out in the wild. The original text actually goes out of its way to point out his heavy mustache and his thick mane as markers of this majesty. Think about how the author builds this profound sense of awe and, honestly, danger here. I mean, the lion isn't roaring, he's not out hunting, he's just completely, absolutely still. But by highlighting these specific physical details, the text completely commands our respect. We're looking at latent power. The closed eyes, the heavy mane, it all kind of whispers that this is a king who doesn't even need to be awake to completely rule the dense forest.
And this really illustrates the sheer descriptive power of the original prose. Just look at the specific traits they highlight. A huge body, a fierce nature. His coat is literally described as shining like gold. And again, that heavy mustache and majestic mane. The author is just luxuriating in these adjectives. It's not just a lion, it's a literal golden monument of strength. By layering all these rich descriptors, the text makes sure that when we picture this sleeping beast, we're acutely aware of his physical mass and the terrifying potential he represents. The gold symbolizes this untouchable royalty. We're totally captivated by his beauty, but for sure, we are terrified of his strength.
Now, what's really interesting about this next section, Small Mischievous Mouse, is how abruptly everything shifts. We are shifting gears entirely here. The slow, heavy slumber of the lion gets interrupted by this sudden burst of kinetic energy, and the whole pacing of the narrative changes. It gets quicker, lighter. We've got this stark visual duality happening. On one side, our lion, huge, calm, perfectly still, lost in deep sleep. And on the other side, the mouse. Small, mischievous, jumping, playing. This juxtaposition is exactly what the text is doing beneath the surface. It's basically slamming two entirely different worlds together. The extreme majesty and absolute stillness of the apex predator is directly contrasted with the harmless, chaotic bouncing of a tiny rodent. It's a classic, highly effective literary technique. You set up these extreme opposites just to maximize the impact of when they inevitably crash into each other.
The text specifically notes that the mouse is in its own fun, jumping and playing around. And guys, this is such a critical detail for our explainer today. The mouse isn't acting out of malice, it isn't trying to be brave, and it's definitely not plotting some calculated attack on the king of the jungle. It is purely 100% oblivious. And that obliviousness is exactly what builds the tension for us, the audience. We know the danger, the mouse doesn't. We're experiencing pure dramatic irony here. We are watching this tiny creature, completely lost in play, bounding closer and closer to a literal mountain of teeth and claws. It makes the whole thing feel like watching a train wreck in slow motion. You know it's going to happen, but you just can't look away.
Let's move on and see how this builds up in our final section, Peace Disrupted. This is the inciting incident.
So, all that tension we've been analyzing over the last few minutes, this is where the dam finally breaks. Let's map out this rapid climax into slow-motion beats. Step 1, the mouse, completely absorbed in its game, climbs right onto the lion's back while playing. Just think about the absolute audacity, the terrifying innocence of that. Step 2, the profound golden sleep of the majestic king is abruptly disturbed. The whole balance of the forest shifts. And then, step 3, the lion's eyes open. Just stop for a second and feel the dramatic weight of that final step. The kinetic, bouncing energy completely stops. The peaceful slumber instantly ends. The stillness is totally shattered by one singular, terrifying action.
His sleep disturbed, the lion's eyes opened. Seeing it isolated like that really highlights its undeniable power. Notice how the source text masterfully cuts off the action right at the absolute peak of tension. It doesn't tell us immediately what the lion sees, or how he roars, or what the mouse feels in its tiny little heart. It just ends the scene right there, suspended in a moment of pure, unadulterated suspense. The apex predator is awake and the tiny trespasser is sitting right on top of him. The transition from total peace to ultimate peril happens in literally a fraction of a second.
So what does this all mean? Well, it brings us to the ultimate question. What will be the consequence of breaking the lion's sleep? The text leaves us hanging right on the edge of our seats, forcing our own imaginations to fill in the terrifying aftermath. Will the Golden King show immediate wrath, or will the tiny creature's sheer innocence spark something else entirely? We've seen today how effectively a single highly structured paragraph can build a lush world, establish powerful contrasts, and leave us just begging for more. By paying attention to these deliberate comparisons, you really unlock the mechanics of great storytelling. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning the text, keep visualizing the action, and I'll catch you next time.